Hey folks, I am Michael J. Penny and welcome to the 5-paragraph business plan tutorials. By now you've looked through the materials and have got the book sitting in front of you. You've seen how the 5-paragraph business plan is action-oriented, breaking big, huge plans down into bite-sized objectives. During this tutorial, we are going to talk about the execution paragraph and specifically tasks, as well as the coordinating instructions and how it breaks all the way down to the individual as far as detail is concerned. Now, as I've said before in the other tutorials, and again, listen through them in succession so that way you can really grasp the knowledge and what we're talking about. Make sure that you've got the guidebook in front of you, you're following along. I am speaking directly to the book, to the text. I am talking directly about the templates, so that as you're listening through these tutorials, you have just a little bit more information to go on. I know that some of us are audio, visual, kinesthetic. We're going to have more goodies for you later on in the future. So, pull out your guidebook, go ahead, go to C tasks, and that is C as in Charlie tasks. And this is a portion of your execution paragraph. It is found right after concept of operations in the scheme and maneuver. You have discussed the overall concept that is the business and how you're going to operate. You spoke of the different various timelines in the scheme and maneuver and when certain things are going to need to take place based upon those priority timelines within the routine timeline. And you've also baked in different actionable timelines that may need to take place. And again, you're thinking through the roles of who might need to react based upon these given situations. Now we're getting into the tasks, and we're talking about delegation of authority and assumption of overall responsibility. Look at this from both an executive and an operational leadership standpoint. Look at it as an entrepreneur and a business leader at the same time. You can delegate your authority to be able to perform a task, but ultimately, if you delegate that authority, you are the one who is responsible for it. And it can only trickle down so far, right? Not every leader can delegate every single task that is underneath of them. What they need to be able to do is delegate certain tasks that don't necessarily fall within their wheelhouse. If you are an entrepreneur, if you are one of the people who is reading through the guidebook and actually filling out the plan with the intent of creating a business, in the tasks, you need to put yourself as one of the tasked individuals. If you are an executive leader, put yourself somewhere in there under tasked individuals. The only people in a large-scale company who aren't necessarily going to get tasked, however they will be mentioned, would be a board of directors or board of advisors. The board of advisors probably are not going to get tasked with anything. However, you would mention them in a task saying that you would call upon their expertise at that given phase in the business. Hence why you have them on the board of advisors. Let's say, for instance, you have a task that doesn't seem to be within the wheelhouse of the management team or the overall company, but somebody on the board of directors or somebody on the board of advisors can back them up with their business acumen. That gives a warm and fuzzy to the onlooker because it says, hey, look, I don't necessarily have all of the abilities, right? I have the skills, knowledge, attitude that's necessary in order to carry out this mission. However, I do not have all of the wisdom that is necessary to carry out that mission. Hence why I have surrounded myself with advisors who can share that wisdom with me so that I can move forward. So make sure that you put yourself in there. If you're executive leadership, if you're an entrepreneur, put yourself in there. If you're the leader of the team as a business leader, make sure that you have a task. Each one of these tasks are priority based on the market variables that are out there. What I'm trying to say is that you have tasks that are based upon a point of friction. Every time you go through a certain phase in your business, you're going to realize that there is a fire that needs tending. And so these are priority tasks based upon your timeline that you have assumed You have looked off into the future and said, okay, if I had it my way, this is when we would hit these different priorities. That is based upon market variables. That comes out of your market research, like what we spoke of in the situation paragraph. Now, a lot of these things circle around research and development, sales, marketing, business development, strategic partnerships, warehouse setup, etc. All of these different things. Business development, in my own opinion, is crucial because it is relationship development in all actuality. The more relationships and the more time that you put towards relationships, more often than not, the less money you have to pay in the long run. This can help out a great deal in this task organization. Sometimes individuals in other roles will play fractional roles. For instance, let's say, you're in a startup and you are an accountant, you are a CPA who's running your own startup. You might provide fractional accounting assistance to another small business. Maybe there's an equitable share, maybe there's whatever it is. But that's some of the other business development, strategic partnerships, the different relationships that we're talking about. Right? And some of those are going to come into play given the operational plan that you are laying out. Okay? So I know that sounds like a lot when we're just talking about providing tasks, but it's not just here, do this little menial thing. When we're talking about a task, you're going to be given a big whopping task, and then you break these things even further down. Hence why you go into coordinating instructions and specifically the operations plan. Because what you're doing is you're outlining how your business will function and deliver value to your customers. I'm reading that right out of the top line of the book in this paragraph. Go ahead and follow along in the guidebook as we're going through these structures so that you're going to see at the bottom of this paragraph how it is a funnel. And I invite you to read back through it a couple of different times because I've broken it up in the book. Essentially, my whole thing is I want you to have a user-friendly experience. I want you to get cracking on this business plan, okay? That's why the templates, they're at the bottom of this page. They're at 5paragraph.com. Scroll all the way down to the bottom. You'll see the templates that are on there. The thing is this, I want you to be able to get this guidebook in your hands, listen to the episodes. If you get to a sticking point and you're trying to figure out, hey, where do I go next? That's when you schedule one of those 15-minute phone calls. Now, if you complete the first 15 minutes, you're going to get a free workbook out of it. We're filling out a questionnaire. We're going through it. We're going to get it back to you so that you have a starting point, okay? And I say that because more often than not, when we're talking about the coordinating instructions in the operational plan, we're not losing people. It's a lot. It's a lot to manage, and that is in the middle of the chaos of your business, okay? And it's up to you to really be able to look at a structure. That is why the 5-paragraph business plan is more of a backbone, okay? So you need to be able to think creatively, but you've got to be able to come back to the 5-paragraph business plan and fill in all of the gaps, right? So you're constantly going out and gathering intelligence, and then you're coming back and you're putting in all of the intelligence into your plan. Right, so you're going out, you're being active, you're outside of the building, you're doing. It's an action-oriented business management tool. And then you come back and you plug in different pieces of the intelligence into your plan. So like I said, we're talking about coordinating instructions, operational plans right now. An outline of how your business will function and deliver value to your customers. That is your task here. Again, it can be overwhelming. It can be intimidating. We're talking about the processes within your business, okay? So it's easy to go down different examples, and you're going to hear me get a little bit complex because I'm trying to give you examples without a whole bunch of anecdotal material, okay? So here we go. You're talking about delivering a good product or a service to a customer or an end user. This includes your production, your delivery, This includes your customer service, depending upon the type of business that you have. It might be your manufacturing processes. If you're transportation, logistics, travel, printing. And again, this is all in the guidebook, a couple of these different examples on what you're walking through. But you're also talking about all of the other factors as far as your manufacturing plant, the location, the different types of facilities. Maybe you're handling some sort of chemical. Maybe you've got different type of regulations that you need to keep in mind whenever you're going through things, and you have to have certifying officers and a certified labor force in order to handle some of those materials. Might be a competitive advantage that you have. Just saying. You have space requirements, you have capital equipment requirements. What do you need to purchase? What could you potentially amortize? What could you potentially put in there as far as like your labor force needs as well? Okay, so that's full-time and part-time requirements. What all goes in there? So you're thinking about a lot of the cost structure. This is going to go into the cost structure later on, which, oh, by the way, the next paragraph, the admin and logistics paragraph, we're going to be talking about the financials, which is why here in the coordinating instructions, we're talking about what we've got, right? As far as an operational plan, what we need to do within these priority and actionable timelines in order to meet our goal, in order to accomplish the mission. Once we go through all these different variables, then in the admin and logistics paragraph, we worry about how much that stuff's going to cost. So again, you're gathering intel, you're going around, you're asking other folks, how did you go about this? You're talking potentially with competitors. How did you go about this? All right, don't feel bad speaking with competitors about their processes. More often than not, they want to talk to you about it, especially if you're leaning in saying, hey, I want to add value. I potentially want to create a strategic partnership. If you can help me get going, this is what I could bring to the party, kind of a deal. Okay. Now, for location-specific businesses, service businesses, retail businesses, anyone that may require additional reconnaissance to determine proximity, right? And again, follow along in the guidebook. I'm reading some of this out of there so that you can follow along with me in the book. If you're talking about a location specific and you're going to somebody who is a competitor, okay? Let's say, for instance, I hesitate giving examples because I like to stay away from anecdotal. I want to use Acme Company style anecdotes here, okay? So let's say you're trying to do something as basic as a car wash, all right? Which I say basic, but it's very competitive running a car wash. Anybody who's ever done one will tell you. If you are specifically in the Southwest of America, let's say, for instance, you could call and contact somebody who is in another Southwestern state that is outside of your competitive market, even though you potentially want to grow into a franchise and swell into their market. But the point being is that they're geographically specific based upon some of the other environmental effects and what have you. When you go to open your own car wash, you still have to go and do the reconnaissance of the spot. You have to do a site survey, so on and so forth. So a lot of these different elements, plug them into your plan right here. Consider a lot of these different elements, even though you don't know where you're going or how you're going to go about it or anything else like that. I'm going to tell you right now, all that is a fragmentary order. And we talk about fragmentary orders in another episode, and it's here later on in the guidebook. Fragmentary orders are those little tangential operations. They might be an actionable timeline or what have you. You create a fragmentary order. It's basically a plan within a plan. What I love about the 5-paragraph business plan process is that you can swell it up to a grand scale of a 30,000 foot view, or you can break it all the way down to a pocket size. Hey, I've just got to go and get this done. And that's the thing that's beautiful about it. It's very, very simple so that it's very, very adaptable. And I love the fact that you have the ability to scale it all the way down to going and just doing a site survey specifically on a car wash, or you can blow it all the way up to, we're going to do a whole chain of car washers. We're going to do a huge franchise, and you can base it all on the same plan. That's the beauty in it. So moving on with the coordinating instructions. And again, you're funneling it down. I need to show you the expanse of this because that's the whole point of the paragraph. All right. There are different various things that you're going to have to put in here as far as the operating model and the cycle, the operations strategy, geographic location, facilities, equipment, capacity levels, legal issues. As I said before, there might be regulations that are associated with it. Now, if you're following in the book, if you're looking on some of the different templates, you're going to notice under coordinating instructions, especially in the guidebook, I have staggered it or stair-stepped it even further down as far as your different considerations, okay? Identify your key leadership, identify the role of that key leadership. So that way you can identify the teams that are underneath of them, the role of the team members as individuals, all the way through gear, equipment, and additional specific considerations for that individual. Keep in mind that this plan can be used all the way down to the single person. Now, when we're talking to executive leadership, we're entrepreneurs, okay? Again, I want you to think big, huge. I want you to think long term, okay? So you're delegating those specific roles and potentially putting in gear and equipment, right? Let's say that you're thinking of your employee on the line. You don't have everything nailed down, but you know that that individual is going to need some sort of uniform. They're going to need a hat, maybe an apron, a type of shoe, so on and so forth. First of all, you need to put that much detail into your business plan. You do not need to brief that every single time, okay? That's something that's not going to go in your business plan pitch. That's something that goes in your business plan. Okay, now, if you thought about the uniform and the hat and everything else, or the smock that they're going to wear, all the way down to the tennis shoes and the color in their laces, and then you hand in or you provide the most generic financials you could ever think of doing, like you just kind of were like, yeah, but I have no idea how I'm going to pay for it. Come on, you're putting attention to detail in the wrong areas, okay? If it's something as simple as you know that they're going to have to, by regulation, depending upon your business, you know that they're going to have to wear a hairnet, an apron. You know that they're going to have some sort of standardized uniform, put it in there. Okay, makes sense? What I love about this, again, is it allows me to be creative as an entrepreneur. This when I myself was in the military and I was using the operations order, it allowed me to be creative in an otherwise very logical place, right? And what the 5-paragraph business plan is it is a backbone to be able to go out and gather all of this different type of intelligence and be able to plug it in, right? It's a guidebook. Go out, gather the intel you need, come back, listen through a couple of these tutorials. If you have any questions, schedule a call. Do not hesitate. Join the forum, join the group. We're doing a forum. It's 5paragraph.com/forum, 5paragraph.com/forum. We're going to stay involved. All right. You're going to see all sorts of different stuff that's on this page right now, 5paragraph.com. Okay. So if you're out there and you're listening in the ether somewhere off of our RSS feed, make sure that you get over to 5paragraph.com. Okay. And we've got a lot of other entrepreneurs. We've got a lot of other business leaders who are advisors who came from a background with this operations order. Okay. So they're out now. They're doing great things. They're out in corporate America. They're out successful entrepreneurs, and people are going, hey, I know that you guys have all these leadership traits and characteristics and so on and so forth that made you great while you're in the service, but what are you bringing with you out of the service? This right here, this is part of our education that we got. That's why you're going to hear us talk on Cigars and Sea Stories, our podcast, but also here on some of these 5-paragraph business plan tutorials. You're going to hear me specifically say highest billet, highest ability to train. Okay. And highest billet is most important job, most important role, whatever you bring in to this new plan. That is an entrepreneur. That is a business leader. That is somebody who is starting their own business. That is somebody who exists inside of a larger corporate structure. Wherever you came from, whatever you've done in your past is all accumulative. Okay, life is accumulative. You learn. You never start from the bottom all over again. That's ridiculous. You are always, always, always springboarding off of the fundamentals that you gained in your previous roles in life. It doesn't matter if you think it doesn't pertain now. It does. Let me tell you what, okay? When I talk about highest billet, I'm asking you, what is the most important role? And by importance, I mean you're responsible for a great amount of material or goods or products or whatever. You're responsible for a lot of people. You're responsible for a lot of parts. What was your highest billet? And then I'm going to ask you, what was your highest ability to train? Did you get any additional instructor certifications? It doesn't matter what your job was, where you're coming from, whether it was the military or another job before in the past. Did you get any of the instructor certifications so that you could make carbon copies of yourself? Do you possess that? Do you have the ability to provide skills, knowledge, attitude so that somebody can go out in the world and perform that duty, that task, that role that you are looking to be able to delegate your authority to? Because that matters. And it matters right here in the 5-paragraph business plan and the coordinating instructions, because then you're going to be able to task yourself. It doesn't matter if you're an entrepreneur or a business leader, you're going to be able to task yourself if you ask yourself the right questions. Stay in your strength base, get outside of your comfort zone. Right? Stay in your strength base. Wherever you're weak, those are the other roles in your team, and each one of you are venturing forward outside of your comfort zone. The 5-paragraph business plan is an action-oriented business management tool. It is all about action. It's all about getting out there, trying, using the plan. If it doesn't work, come back and reiterate, pivot, reorganize, learn from past failures and past mistakes. The 5-paragraph business plan, the templates, the workbook, get on with a 15-minute phone call, join the forum, buy the book, listen to the episodes, get started today with the 5-paragraph business plan. Keep listening.